All right, welcome and thank you for joining us, everyone. My name is Sophia from Sacred Feminine Tribes, and today I have the beautiful Susie with us today. Susie is one of our very, very special tribe hosts. I love her dearly. She has such a wealth of knowledge about all things, but especially about herbs. Susie's the host of our Healing with Herbs tribe, and I thought I would just chat with you today, Susie, about your tribe and about all things to do with herbs.
Thank you. Sounds wonderful.
Thank you for joining us. It's really, really, really great. So, considering that we're starting off with herbs, tell me and everyone else, how did you get involved in herbs? Like where does your passion with herbs come from?
Um, well, I suspect it probably began in childhood. I, my father was a great believer in naturopathy, and at one stage before the war, the last World War, he started training in London at now I'm not exactly sure where it was, but some college in London, and he started training in iridology and herbal medicine and London School of Osteopathy it was. And they ran all these other courses, and he started that. And we used to talk about it. And he then became an organic market gardener. And so we constantly had fresh organic food, always flavored with lots and lots of different herbs out of his herb garden. And we grew up with a love of good, real, proper, tasty food. And and using herbs in our cooking all the time. So that's where it began.
Sure. And that's wonderful, especially if if you said that you grew up with that and how your father was in that. And I can't say because I wasn't even born around at that time, but I could just imagine. And even when I was growing up as a child, I remember, picking up all the herbs from the garden and all the vegetables and stuff and eating all that. So following on that from your childhood, was there any other passion that you decided to become a herbal medicine consultant?
Well, excuse me. Well, my father, he believed in naturopathy, and when I was 5, I was very ill, and he brought in a naturopath to treat me, which saved my life.
Yeah.
So my grandfather, he found a herbalist for my grandfather, who was riddled with cancer when he was, I don't know, I guess he would have been in his 70s, I'm not too sure. And he was given 3 months to live by several Harley Street specialists. And he turned to this herbalist who treated him with herbs and body compresses, so herbs internally and herbs externally in compresses on his body. And when he did eventually, many years later, pass over, he had a post-mortem performed on at his own request, and they found absolutely no cancer in his body anywhere at any stage. And that for me is proof enough that it is the most effective form of medicine, which is not to say that if I broke my arm, I wouldn't go to hospital and have it set in plaster or something, but I, I would always give a natural therapy a chance first, always.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, to me, it makes sense. It's nature's gift. The herbs are there. They've been there for centuries, and they're there for a reason. And it's not just for cooking, but for healing.
Yeah. And many herbs come in the shape or come from trees. I mean, it's not just little soft herbs growing in the ground or even the woodier ones like rosemary. But many herbs, we use tree bark and we use some leaves from trees or the twigs, or maybe we rarely use tree roots, but we would use leaf or flower and sometimes bark. After all, that's what cinnamon comes from, which is a herb. Um, and all these herbs have amazingly wonderful properties. And most of them are different, have different properties. So that when you're making a herbal mix, for somebody, you would not use the same mix for everybody with the same symptoms. You would always look at the whole person and then prescribe from that. And it could be any one of the herbs. Or we do also use we use Western herbs mostly, but North American and Indian, Chinese herbs, etc. So there are many forms. Every country has the most wonderful regime of healing plants growing.
Mm. And you would study all that, wouldn't you, when you became a herbalist?
Yes. Well, I studied for about 4.5 years before I qualified, or before I took the exams, and I've been learning ever since, and that was 33 years ago. So I think it's the best step I ever took in my life was to do that. I think it has prolonged my life and helped many people along the way.
Yeah. Well, I know for certain you've certainly helped me just in the little things. If I can tell everyone who's watching this and will watch this afterwards, like a couple of weeks ago, I had a lot of pain in my gum. I must have had a gum infection. But instead of going to the dentist, I rang up Susie, and Susie told me to take thyme, which I'd never thought about. Not take it, but use it as a mouthwash and also drink it. I use a lot of salt. I do a lot of salt gargling, but thyme just like that, like it's gone. It was gone within a day or two. So that's amazing. So I'm really grateful for that, Susie.
You're very welcome.
Certainly, and I'm sure there's many hundreds of people out there that you've helped. So talking of time, for me that I didn't even know the properties of time. Well, two questions if I can ask you, Susie, and I don't know if the first one will put you on the spot a little bit. I mean, how many herbs are there that we have access to?
Well, probably thousands, in truth. I have probably maybe about 150 or so on my shelf in extract form. Plus, of course, fresh thyme growing in the garden. I wouldn't have a garden without fresh thyme in it. But I imagine that there would be probably 300, 400, 500 Western herbs, of which we use the bare minimum, really. And there would be equally the same in South America or India or China or any other one of those countries. So there would be thousands altogether.
Yeah. And out of those thousands and and the hundred or so that you've got there, do you have any favorites?
Oh gosh, I have so many favorites. That's the trouble. Picking one is too hard. Thyme would be my favorite antibiotic, anti-infective, antifungal herb to use. I think I can use that fresh in decoctions to soothe or to wash an exterior wound, for instance. I'd love withania, which is an Indian herb, ashwagandha, and it's that has an amazing restorative properties. It's an adaptogen, and so it adapts to what your body needs, like the ginsengs, Siberian and Korean, which help you if you've been not well or you're convalescing from a long illness. All those herbs will help you get back on your feet, and they act like a tonic. They adapt to what the body needs and help the other herbs that you put in a mix work better within your body. And of course, the liver herbs you can't live without, or I can't live without. I can't prescribe a mix without a liver herb in it, because one always starts with the gut area, and that's where most dis-ease starts, is within the digestive system. So, and that includes the liver, etc. And so I would always use a liver herb as well. So Celebum or St. Mary's, no, what's it called? I forgot. Milk thistle and dandelion are my two favorites. But there are so many different herbs, and some of them you use a lot of. If I'm making a cough mixture, I would always put sundew, which is Drosera, and thyme in a cough mix, with Manuka honey because it soothes the throat, but also it's anti-infective and specifically for those sort of coughs that you can't stop coughing kind of cough. So yes, there's many. I can't name one favorite, but if I could only have one herb, it would be thyme every time.
There we go. Wonderful, thank you. Well, I know the wonders now of time, so it certainly helps, you know, to get rid of things very, very, very quickly. I was so surprised at how quickly it worked. You know, much quicker than salt. I always thought salt was a natural healer, but it's nothing like thyme, as you said. So, Susie, can I ask you, with all your wonderful knowledge and wisdom about, you know, everything to do with herbs, what made you make the decision to step up to host a tribe, and, you know, and what can people expect from that? What do they get from joining the Healing with Herbs tribe?
Um, well, I hope what they gain from being part of my tribe is um, I hope they gain some kind of wisdom or help in their health issues so that they can. I encourage them to ask any questions that they have, um, not about cooking with herbs, but with actually growing them and using them. There are many herbs we can just use around the home that we can grow ourselves and that we can make into teas or decoctions, as it's known. And so you can do that with all sorts of things. Marigold flowers you can use. You can take any kind of, or rosemary is a great herb for the memory. That's why we use it on Remembrance Day as the flower that we, or leaf that we carry on our lapels, if on Remembrance Day, or that the gentlemen marching do. And so there are so many, and we can make teas from them. We can use them to bind wounds, or for instance, if you've got a leg ulcer, you can use the inner skin when you've peeled a pawpaw or a papaya. Use just a small piece of the skin, put it over the top of the ulcer and bind it into place. And within 2 or 3 days, it will be cleaning out really quickly, and then the skin helps it to heal. So it will actually clean out the entire ulcer area, especially for elderly people who get ulcers on their legs quite easily, if they knock themselves, etc. So it's, you know, there's all sorts of valuable things that we can find in the garden, we can grow or buy if we have to, preferably at an organic market. I'm greatly in favour of organics, but I think they can mostly find that we have an open chat board, as it were, really. That's what it is. It's just an open room to chat. And I will post things about different herbs. I think I posted about mistletoe last week, because it's one that we don't use a lot of and is used with caution, of course, but unless we're kissing underneath it, in which case you don't have to use it with caution. But there are so many herbs that are quite obscure that people won't have heard of. I think I posted about Stillingia a couple of weeks ago, which is Queen's Delight, which I absolutely think sounds wonderful. I mean, to have a herb called Queen's Delight is absolutely awesome. There are just so
I
many.
haven't even heard of it.
Oh, it's Stillinger. It's for skin issues, etc. And there's many reasons how I was told to remember what it was for, because it was Queen's Delight, and it was like, oh, that sort of queen. But it was just lovely. I just love the names of some of them, and the properties that they hold that can bring healing to any part of the body, absolutely, externally, internally. Unfortunately, some of them we're not allowed to use internally now, or we're not allowed to prescribe them. As a herbalist, I take anything I want to, but or anything I think may do me good.
Yeah.
But yes, there are some herbs we're not allowed to prescribe. But I find that any herb is a good herb. So when people come to my room, if they have a question about a skin condition, or having an upset tummy, or what could they do for a headache, etc. We can just answer it on the spot.
Mm, mm. Well, isn't that wonderful that you give people the opportunity? Because I'm just sitting here thinking, like in the world like today, where it's so easy now to go down the road and get a pill, or to get something that's full of chemicals to use, that actually over long run could actually do a lot more harm to the body. But
Yeah,
where
it
we've got
does.
you who's providing all this wealth of knowledge, where there's natural ways to heal things, there's natural ways, like you said, if you've got an upset stomach, or if you've got any diseases that you can help. Not to say that medicine is wrong, but I'm sure that herbs is very complementary as well, if you know what to use and what
Mm.
not. And in some places, like I said, for me, if I can just go back to that experiences again, instead of going to get a tooth out or take painkillers, you were able to help me with the time. And that, I'm sure I'm not the only person that has infected gums from time to time,
Mm.
and they're able to come and talk to you about anything, which is one of the
Yeah.
wonderful benefits of joining your
Mm.
tribe, is healing naturally with herbs.
Yeah. I really enjoy imparting that knowledge. If I can help somebody with the knowledge that I have acquired over so many years, the happier I am. I just think perhaps if my legacy is to help one person in this world onto a healthier lifestyle, then I've done what I'm here for. As far as I'm concerned, I think it's so, if you can benefit humanity in any way, and
Mm.
I'm not saying I'm the best herbalist in the world or anything along those lines, but if you can just with general knowledge help one person, two people, five people, and they can pass that knowledge on too.
Exactly. And that's a
Um,
wonderful legacy to leave,
mm,
especially as the generations go on,
yes.
and more drugs become available. It's a wonderful legacy that there is still so much out there that nature has given us that can help us.
Well, I think, in these days of the the COVID-19 thing, um, tell somebody the best way to boost their immune system so that they actually don't get sick in the first place. That would be immeasurable, I would imagine,
Right?
to anybody to know how to boost their immune system naturally. Um, and just by taking one or two different herbs, you can boost your own immune system.
Mm.
And a lot of them you can buy dried in health stores, and make your own teas with the dried herbs.
Mm.
A
Mm.
good health store will keep all the dried herbs.
Sure, sure. And without going into everything in detail, because I know as a herbal medicine consultant, you really need to know people's histories and what they're currently taking. But just in generally, if someone wanted to boost their immune system, is there a best herb to use?
Well, and all of these things, bear in mind, one has to um, uh, prescribe with caution,
Yes.
because that's why you need a consultation from most people first, because if you don't have knowledge of what is happening within their own body and any drugs they may currently be taking, etc., you can have lots of interactions that aren't necessarily good. Um, but echinacea would be one of the favorites. And there's an Indian herb, and the name currently escapes me, beginning with A, astragalus, and that's an immune booster. And many herbs, as an adaptogen, will work as an immune booster too, because they adapt to what the body needs and will help the other herbs to be absorbed properly,
Yeah.
um, and that sort of thing. So, I mean, a lot of it does go along with almost always taking a probiotic, because if your gut health isn't good, then you might not have good absorption to actually absorb the herbs that you need. So there are, as I say, it's not complex, but it is necessary to know someone's history and need to know what's going on now. Because if you don't have a clear picture, you could prescribe something like echinacea, and some people oughtn't to take it. And so, yeah, that's why you would need to have a knowledge of what what is currently going on in their bodies.
Yeah. And I'm really glad that you mentioned that, because I was just going to say, that you're one of our preferred partners, and you offer that through Sacred Feminine Tribes and Sacred Feminine Touch, the herbal medicine consults, where
Yes, indeed.
you can get people's histories and people can actually ask you on a one-to-one basis,
Yes.
on what's best for their whole all over health,
Mm.
entire health. So that's also available if anyone's interested. You just have to click on the link with this video, and that
Mm.
will take you to our preferred partners, all about Susie. And also with this video is the link, of course, is to Susie's herbal healing with herbs tribe, which, as we've been talking, Susie has so much, a wealth of knowledge to share. So if you wanted to know anything about herbs. Now, when do you have your tribe meetings, Susie?
I have it every second Thursday at 6:30 in the evening on Zoom.
And that's in our community, in the Sacred Feminine community.
Yes.
Anyone is a member of that, then you're also able just to join, just to see how it goes for a little while, or join our tribes. And as part of the membership, not only do you get you get to join any tribe that you like, as many tribes as you like, but especially Susie's Healing with Herbs tribe. So in wrapping up, Susie, because I've kept you for a little while, with all your wealth of knowledge, with herbs and stuff like that, if you could share one thing with the world about, how herbs can help us.
Oh, golly, that's a deep one. I think not to exclude orthodox medicine, and I don't, because it has its place.
Sure.
And there are many ways, things that we can treat, but sometimes it gets to a stage where we're not able to. But I think the whole thing about herbal medicine is that it is natural, that if it's prescribed properly, and I really don't mean home prescribing, I mean proper consultation, etc., by someone who knows, then so that you're safeguarded from being given something that isn't helpful, then I think herbal medicine, almost without exception, can save someone from many years of dis-ease in many areas. For instance, is I had a client who was told to have her gallbladder out, treated her, and I treated her for 3 months. And when I started, she was in chronic pain, as one would be, and she had several stones, etc., in her gallbladder, and I treated her for 3 months, and she did exactly as I recommended, which always helps if a client does what you ask them to do, because if they don't, it's not going to work. But she took her mixes faithfully for 3 months, and she took her, changed her diet fractionally to suit what I told her to do. And after 3 months, had another ultrasound, and took the ultrasound results back to her doctor, who said, "I don't know why you're here. There's nothing wrong with your gallbladder." And when she said, "Oh, well, that's because my naturopath's been treating me," and he said, "Yeah, well, it's not that, it's a miracle." And I agree, it was a miracle, but one that was provided by herbal medicine.
Exactly. And
I mean, it's not what I know or do. I am grateful that I have the gift of knowledge that I can help.
help
That's
other people.
all that matters. Somebody's out of pain and doesn't have to have surgery. Wonderful.
And that to me is a legacy. And that to
Thank
me is
you.
like sharing your passion, that, even if it's one person who then is able to help other people, It's a wonderful gift that you have, or a wonderful opportunity that you've decided to share your passion with the world, and start healing with Herb's Tribe. You know, how many other people in the world have suffer gallbladders, have painful gallbladders, and all sorts of other things.
Mm.
So
Yes.
thank you, Susie. We could talk all day.
Well, I could bore you to tears for weeks on herbs
So
and many other things. So yes, I sometimes it's hard to shut me up.
no, oh, it's not at all, because you have so much knowledge in there, which is wonderful, and to hear you in your tribe meetings, which I'm fortunate to do. I said it's amazing, and I just we just to get the word out there, and if anyone wants to know anything about herbs, then come and talk to Susie.
I'm grateful to have the platform upon which to do this. Very grateful to say Sacred Feminine Community in touch.
All right, Susie, thank you
So,
for joining us.
thank
I
you.
hope you have a wonderful time sharing your passion about herbs.
I will be doing that for many years to come. Thank you.
And in wrapping up, if anyone has any questions or they want to connect with Susie, just leave a message below this video, or click on the links and either book a consult with Susie or join her tribe. Have a beautiful afternoon, everyone, or wherever you are. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.